Having marked a century since the end of the Great War of 1914-18, we now mark the 75th anniversary of the official end of the 1939-45 war in Europe. Generally known as VE Day, the 8th of May 1945 was the Allies' formal acceptance of Nazi Germany's unconditional surrender. After 6 years of conflict, the British were keen to party, and countless numbers took to the streets. Crowds massed in Trafalgar Square, the Mall and outside Buckingham Palace, where King George VI and Queen Elizabeth and Winston Churchill appeared on the balcony. In London alone, 2.5 million teas and lemonades were consumed, 2 million sandwiches and 1.2 million buns. There was a general air of joy and relief, and this was not just restricted to the capital. Here in Maldon, locals had experienced the impact of the hostilities firsthand. Loved ones had gone off to fight, some of them never to return. There are 86 names on our town's war memorial alone. Locals did their bit in the civil defence services. They experienced the hardships of rationing. Some of that rationing would continue until 1954. And air raids have been a regular feature of life and death. There were 14 fatalities in Maldon and Heybridge. And there'd been so much more going on besides. So when they heard the Prime Minister's broadcast on their primitive crystal wireless sets and realised that the blackouts could at long last come down, that there would be no further need for them to rush to their Morrison shelters, they knew that this really was their victory. As Churchill told them, in all our long history, we've never seen a greater day than this. The residents of individual streets in Maldon, Burnham and all across the surrounding villages hurriedly made plans to put up bunting and flags and to roll out a barrel or two, to capture the moment for fear that it was only a dream. Supplies were pulled and imaginative feasts were concocted. Spam fritters and powdered eggs were very much in evidence. And then there were the famous Walton pies, named after Lord Walton, the Minister of Food, and consisting of vegetables in a brown flour margarine pastry moistened with Bovril gravy. There were parties, bonfires, including a massive one on the promenade which burnt all night, and dancing, not least outside of the Swan Hotel in Maldon's High Street. The Maldon pubs ignored all of the licensing hours and they were packed. But there was no trouble at all, and one particular participant remembers it was a delightful day and one which I will always remember. And talking about remembering and remembrance, we must rely very heavily on personal accounts of what happened that day, because it seems that very few official records survive. Photographs do, however, capture the moment, and there are some wonderful pictures of the partygoers in places like Fitch's Crescent, North Street, and outside what was then the Salvation Army Hall, now the mosque in Maldon's Church Street. When you look at those pictures, some of the adults are wearing black, respecting the absence of husbands and sweethearts who made the ultimate sacrifice. On this, the 75th anniversary of V-Day, whilst we've not been able to mark the event across the district as we'd originally planned, I hope that you will still take some time to join in on the many online activities to mark this very special occasion. 75 years since VE Day, 75 years of peace.